Heads up, you are in the Hoodwood, web's foremost place for talk and sports discussion. I'm your boy KJ. This week, preview the Super Bowl, the big game, the Niners and the Ravens in New Orleans for the NFL championship. Has Kobe really reformed? Also, a myriad of things. Why we need the press conferences and why it seems the NFL players use as a forum to shoot their mouth off. Why do we need them, and why do these reporters continue to bait the players into saying something stupid? College basketball, is it really going down the tubes, or is the parody finally really caught up to the game that I particularly love? Spec sheet isn't ready yet. That'll be next week. But still, there's a lot of stuff to discuss with basketball, college and pro, as well as Fat Dap and Head Slap, all coming up in the Hoodwood. You ready? Come on. Greetings from the Hoodwood, where after a week's sabbatical, your humble scribe returns with all the musings and thoughts that go on inside my head and inside Hoodwood. I'm your boy KJ, and now there are two. The Ravens and the 49ers are set to square off in Super Bowl 47 in New Orleans on Sunday, and for all intents and purposes, with all the talk about the Harbaugh brothers squaring off and which one has a decided advantage, I think this could shape up to be one of the best Super Bowls in quite a while. And there have been some pretty good Super Bowls over the last 10 to 12 years. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the Super Bowl was a boredom, or more of a kind of a foregone conclusion that the NFC team was going to wallop the AFC's offering. And the question wasn't how much or who was going to win, but by how much and what audacious records were going to be broken. I mean, there was a point in time where one team would score 35, 45, 55 points, and the losing team would be lucky to crack 10 to 14. Now, in 47 games of the Super Bowl, 46 I should say, there's never been a shutout. There's never been overtime. It's been close to overtimes a couple of times, but the game has never gone into a fifth period. And I've always wondered what would happen should that game go into overtime. Now, I know the NFL has its rules and everything set up for, contingency for overtime, and that's all well and good, but you're talking about the ultimate game being decided possibly on one touchdown. Me personally, this is what I propose. Play a fifth period. Flip coin and play another 15 full 15-minute period. Both teams get 2 timeouts. Play it like the fourth quarter with the challenges and everything. And if you still don't have a winner, or if both teams score, say, 10 points in the quarter, then go to that contingency rule. But you have all winter to recover. You don't want the game's signature moment to be decided on a coin flip or on a fluky one play kickoff, guy runs it back for a touchdown. That's ball game for the Super Bowl. Now, granted, it's never happened, but you have to consider the possibilities. Sooner or later, it's going to come up, and you're going to have controversy, and somebody's going to feel like they've been left out. So play an extra quarter. It's something to think about. I don't think Roger Goodell's going to be that forethought or have that much forethought into it to make something that radical, but you never know. But looking at the game itself, you have two teams that I think are almost mirror images of one another, both with strong running games, very strong defenses led by a passionate middle linebacker that wears 52, Patrick Willis for the 49ers, incomparable Ray Lewis for the Ravens. And both teams have good, solid quarterbacks. Now, Colin Kaepernick for the 49ers is the younger of the two quarterbacks, but has stepped in with the aplomb and approach of a veteran. He's carried himself very well after taking over for Alex Smith and has made his coach, Jim Harbaugh, look more and more like a genius with his studied coolness and otherwise solid play. Now for Baltimore, Joe Flacco has been the quarterback for the Ravens for the last 5-6 years, and he's taken the Ravens to the playoffs every year. This is the deepest they've gotten into the playoffs. This is their first Super Bowl trip. But Flacco has had his detractors, me being one of them, that said that they weren't really sold on his overall game. The guy throws a ridiculously great deep ball. But I was not really sold on his gamesmanship. That when the money was on the line, that he was going to be able to come up with the big plays. Against the Broncos, he proved me wrong. Boy, did he prove me wrong. With a great fourth quarter comeback, he stood tall against the Patriots, rallying from a small halftime deficit to really lay the wood to the Patriots in the second half. I mean, it's rare when you see a Bill Belichick coach team get handed a second half beat down like they got. I mean, it was pretty frightful to watch the Ravens just methodically grind the Patriots in front of their own home crowd to boot, to really grind out the win, and Joe Flacco coolly dissect the Patriots defense into shreds. Now, who do I like in this game? Again, I've said it pretty much, it's coin flip. My thing is, for some strange reason, I just cannot buy into the Ravens. Ray Lewis, retiring after this game, great story. He's an inspirational figure. He's, very open about his religious beliefs and is very, very eloquent on his statements. And he leads a very, very solid veteran defense. But that defense is nowhere near as strong as the defenses that you remember from back in the day when the Ravens only allowed 185 points in the 2000 season, when they were so frightful, so dominant, that a team scoring 35 points on them was unheard of. But the Broncos scored 35 points on them. The Patriots put a number of yards on them. Remember, this was a team in the Ravens that stumbled down the stretch, that needed a big win against the New York Football Giants just to hold off the hard-charging Bengals, who were breathing hard down their neck, and beat them in the regular season finale, even though it was for a coin. But I still am not sold on the Baltimore Ravens. The 49ers, I mean, do you really think that a rookie quarterback can make that final step and win the ultimate game? I think he can. I personally think he can. And though it's a 3.5-point favorite game, the Niners are 3.5-point favorites, I'm liking the Niners to win the game. I'm going to call it 27-23. It's going to be a good game, front to back. There's going to be a couple big spectacular plays, but I think Colin Kaepernick is going to be just enough of a difference to pull this game out. I'm making the Niners, and it's weird for me to even think that the Niners, who have been 20 years removed from their last Super Bowl, will be the first team to win 6 Super Bowls without a loss, and join the Pittsburgh Steelers as the only team to have won 6 Super Bowls. Switching gears into college basketball now. Quick, who's the number one team in the country? Wish it was my poor beleaguered Bearcats. They're in the top 25, but they're ranked 24th. But right now, the number one team is Michigan. Yes, the Maize and Blue, more known for their football exploits than their basketball exploits. They haven't had a team like this dynamic since the Fab Five. But that team, remember, doesn't exist because they took those Final Four banners down that they earned in 92 and 93. But this is the highest that the Wolverines have been ranked since those gaudy Fab Five days of Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson. I always want to make sure I get all five of them. That was a great team back in the day. But this team, not so much cutting the mold of them with the swagger and everything, but they play so well, led by Tim Hardaway Jr. And I kind of feel like you're feeling kind of old when you can remember when a player's senior was playing in college. And I remember when Tim Hardaway Sr. played for UTEP. But his son, Tim Jr., has been playing very well. And the Wolverines are the latest among teams who have wearing the number one crown. Duke has had it twice. They got housed by the U last week when I was down sick. I managed to catch that game and watch Miami spectacularly stomp the Dukies, 90-63. You don't see a Coach K team get took to the woodshed like that. But that was their second shot at being number one. They lost to NC State to take their first loss when they were undefeated, and they fell out of the ranks to number one. Louisville was number one and got spanked 3 straight times and fell from number one into the double digits about as fast as you could say Louisville's the number one team. They didn't hold on to that crown very long. The team that started out as the number one team in the country, Indiana, still lurks among the top 3, and they're going to be taking on Michigan Saturday in Bloomington in what is really looking to be a clash of the Titans between not only for Big Ten supremacy, but to wear that number one crown. Now, a lot of people are criticizing the game, saying that the game is slow, lethargic, not as exciting as in years past, where there have been other teams, dynamic, running gun type teams. But I still distinctly remember just a few years ago that people were saying, oh, the game's too wide open. Nobody plays defense anymore. It's just running gun street ball. I remember this very same Fab Five that was taking criticism. Steve Fisher was being highly criticized as saying they just roll out the balls and play street ball. Well, now that you have teams that play defense, that value strong possessions, that force teams to take bad shots, now the criticism is renewed. I went to the Cincinnati Rutgers game on Wednesday night and counted 3 different times where Cincinnati held Rutgers to the point of a shot clock violation. 35-second shot clock violation. You don't see a shot clock violation happen that often. You see it maybe, if you're lucky, once a game. Cincinnati forced Rutgers to do it 3 times and a half. I think that the scoring is there, the offense is there, but teams play better defense. Defense is something that will win you titles. If you can play a strong defense, have a decent shooter, 1 or 2 credible scores, and maybe a third, you've got the tools or what it takes to win a title. Now, is there a clear-cut favorite like there was a couple like last year when Kentucky rolled to the title. No. There are a lot of good teams, Kansas, Michigan, Indiana, um, Louisville still lurks about there, Syracuse. There are a number of good teams, but there's no one great dominant team. And come March, it's going to be an interesting tournament. March Madness will be madness at its finest. And for all the criticism of the game and has it stagnated, I think that college basketball is as healthy as ever and will be as popular as ever. You watch the ratings. Come March, there's going to be a lot of people watching the games, and there's going to be a lot of exciting basketball. Last week I was not last week, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about the Heat, Miami Heat in trouble. I think rumors of their demise were greatly exaggerated. I just thought it was funny to see people talk about were the Heat in trouble. I could give Reggie Evans a head slap of the week for riling up LeBron James needlessly for criticism that I'm still trying to figure out. Here's a guy that is a journeyman. He's a journeyman. He has been 6 different teams. Yeah, when playing as the Nets were preparing to play the Heat the other day, he calls out LeBron James and says that his hard-won title, 2012 season, was an asterisk, a paper title, not a legitimate title. Reggie Evans. Let me see. Has Reggie Evans played on any number of playoff teams? A couple of them. Okay. Reggie Evans, has he been in the finals? Has he won any championships? I'm hard pressed to even know who this guy is. I remember when Kobe Bryant was being ridden on by it was Theo Bell, I think the guy's name was, and he sardonically asked, "Who is this kid?" Rajah Bell. He was gonna say, "Who is this kid? I don't know who this guy is." LeBron could have done the same thing. He really could have. He could have said, "Who is this kid? I don't know who this is." He's not in his league. Reggie Evans is a pro basketball player to be sure, but he's not on LeBron's level. And LeBron punished him, as he should have. Punished him, had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, basically shut Reggie Evans down. The Heat toyed with the Nets pretty much the whole night, won by 20. And I would think Reggie Evans, with all his talking, all LeBron James had to do was go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm shining my ring. I'm not really paying attention to you." Now, I spoke of Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, who are still light years out of a playoff spot. Steve Nash has been playing relatively well since coming back from a lengthy injury. Kobe Bryant has picked up the pace with the assists and has toned down his scoring, but the Lakers are not a cohesive team. They're not a team that you're going to take seriously in this league this year. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The problem is Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is someone who is clogging up the game. He is not someone that can be depended on in the fourth quarter for scoring. And if he's in the game in the fourth quarter, you know that all you got to do is start playing hacking Dwight and put him on the line and watch him brick it up. Kobe Bryant should be the focus of this team. Kobe Bryant needs a passing center. When playing in the triangle, if ever there was an offense that was made for the triangle, the Lakers with a dynamic passing point guard in Steve Nash, a good ball creator like Kobe Bryant, 2 good passing big men in Pau Gasol and Dwight Howard, and a rebounder, strong rebounder in the former Ron Artest, now known as Meta World Peace, or whatever the guy's name is. He may be a little bit of a nutcase, but he can rebound, does dirty work, gets the alley fights under the boards, and has a nice little scoring touch, too. And you're telling me that this team wouldn't be perfectly suited for the triangle? No. Mike D'Antoni is running this crazy up-tempo type of offense that the aged Lakers can't play. And as a result, they are in 11th place in the West and have no shot at making the playoffs. You can believe if you want that the Lakers are just going to make some sort of run if you want to. But then I got a bridge to sell. You know, oceanfront property in Kansas, she might be interested. Lakers aren't going anywhere. Sorry. You know, the Hoodwood gets NFL Network after a long struggle to get the network, and it's on right now. And I'm seeing the panel of experts, if you want to call them, debating the merits of the Super Bowl. The finalists for the NFL Hall of Fame have already been announced, and there's some names that are on the list that will eventually get to the Hall of Fame, but I don't think they should be on it now. Warren Sapp, Jonathan Ogden being a couple of them that pop right off the top of my head. I think personally that Chris Carter should have been in a long time ago. He should be in. Andre Reed should be in. These are players who are eligible this year. And I also think that Ray Guy, the only player to ever been a number one draft pick by a team when the Raiders selected him out of Southern Miss in 1973 and played 14 credible years for the Raiders and redefined what punting should be. I think Ray Guy should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. But for reasons unbeknownst to me and a lot of people, Guy has not really gotten the call and hasn't gotten any really serious consideration. And I don't even think he's not even a finalist this year, which I think is travesty. You know, everybody talks about excellence. The Hall of Fame is about excellence. Well, Ray Guy was one of the foremost punters. If you ever get a chance to check out a tape of some games, I want you to check out Super Bowl 18 when the Raiders were playing the Redskins, and there was a high snap, and Guy snagged the ball with one hand. I mean, it was a high leaping, just like snags it, pulls it down, shows a presence of mind to get the punt off, and still got a good booming kickoff. They talk about punters being able to flip the field. Guy was one of these that were doing that. Why he is not in the Hall of Fame is still anybody's guess. Now, the players that are eligible for the Hall of Fame this year, make them wait. I'm sorry, Warren Sapp. I'm sorry, Jonathan Ogden. I'm still at a loss to why either one of them are even eligible for the Hall of Fame. Art Modell is eligible for Hall of Fame. You know, I know he just passed away recently, and his Ravens are in the Super Bowl and everything, but I really don't see why Art Modell all of a sudden is getting this groundswell of being in the Hall of Fame. Ask anybody in Northeast Ohio, they're not gonna want Art Modell in the Hall of Fame. They want him somewhere else. They want him in a hall somewhere, but not necessarily at Fame. There are some players that are in Canton that I still wonder how they got there, but there are some that are there on this list that I'm still trying to figure out whose idea was to put them in there. But there are some real injustices, some real players that are left off of a list. Why is Michael Irvin in the Hall of Fame and Chris Carter is not? It doesn't make any sense to me. Speaking of wide receivers, Randy Moss caused a bit of a stir this week when he said that he was the best wide receiver of all time. Now, you're going to find fewer big Randy Moss fans than yours truly. I saw Randy Moss's first game as a Viking in 1998, and he was nothing short of spectacular. If you ever talk about a player who was literally a freak of nature, great hands, great speed, the breathtaking ability to just separate himself from defenders. Yeah, he had a horrible attitude. Randy Moss could be the biggest jerk on the face of the planet. A lot of players are. People like to put these players on pedestals, and they are just as mortal as you and me. But to say he's the greatest of all time, that's a stretch. One of the greats, you're not going to question that. The greatest, I'm sorry. As much as I've never been a big 49ers fan, until they find someone who's better than Jerry Rice, great route runner. Always made great catches. Very dependable. Never took playoff. Was the model of consistency and durability. And has, his own chapter in the NFL record book. Just him, the numbers that he holds. He is the greatest wide receiver of all time. And nobody's going to question it. Least of all, this. Okay, let's give the Fat Dap and Head Slap of the Week. Fat Dap going to Phil Mickelson, who shot at 11 under, first round 60 at the TPC Scottsdale in Phoenix for the Phoenix Open. And you heard that right, 60. Not 66, not 62, 60. He had 11 birdies and no bogeys in his round, and had a missed putt away from shooting a 59. I can't even do that on a video game. This fool's doing it for real. A 60 first round. He did that a few years ago at Scottsdale, shot a 60, tying the course record, and went on to win the event. And I'm pretty much betting that he's going to win the event again by jumping out to such a huge lead. Fat Dap the lefty for a monster first round. Now, the head slap of the week is a bit of a rant, but since it's my show, I can do pretty much the way I want to. It's going to go to Chris Culliver, reserve defensive back for the San Francisco 49ers, who was asked about gay players and if he thought anyone was on his team. Now, this is coming in light of a recent revelation of a former San Francisco 49er player being arrested after assaulting his boyfriend. Now, what sexual orientation one has is none of my business, really none of my concern. It has nothing to do with the game. But the comments that Culliver made about, quote, if they got to get up out of here if they do, and can't be with the sweet stuff, and that sort of stuff, really feeds into the whole bigoted mentality sometimes that you would expect to find in locker rooms. I mean, there's no place for that in the game. I mean, a person's sexual orientation is really no one's business, and I don't think it should affect their standing in how they play. You do as you want to. But the thing is, you have players like Scott Fujita, Vikings Chris Kluwe, Brendan Ayabanajeo, who have spoken out eloquently, and I mean have taken a really bold and to the point stand against sexual discrimination. And to have someone like Culliver come out with these just stupid, homophobic, trying to be macho type of mentality, oh, we can't be doing that, having that up in here. That sort of attitude has no place in sports. It's an archaic thought, a Neanderthal way of thinking, and given the forum that he was given in the Super Bowl, and of course, you have this media day, and you have these people who are supposedly media types who like to throw these obscure and innocuous and sometimes stupid questions at these players and wonder why they're not getting any kind of real answer. And when they do bait someone into saying something, it's usually the wrong thing. I mean, Joe Flacco of the Ravens was asked about the possible, with this next year's Super Bowl being in a cold weather venue. He said it was, quote, retarded, which is something you just cannot say. You don't like it, say it's stupid. But that kind of word has no place. But Culliver's remarks, insensitive, stupid, no place for it. And he quickly backed off of the statements and came up with, the PC fumbling, it's not what's in my heart type of quote unquote fumbling retraction. But my grandma used to always say, you know how somebody is when they first talk. And there's no getting around what this guy thought of. There's no place for it. I don't know who this player is. He doesn't make that much of an impact. Culliver's a reserve defensive back. Will he get any playing time? Probably not. But I can guarantee you a lot more people know who he is now. And especially in a city like San Francisco, which has been, and the Niners have been one of the teams that have been on the forefront of fighting discrimination in the sports field, and have been extremely forward thinking in pioneering the fight against this. It's a real black eye to that team, and it's something that they were quickly squashing and quickly pulling Carrawell aside and saying, hey, you need to check your mentality. Head slap to an unenlightened 49er, Chris Culliver, for not really thinking at all. Or with the music coming up in the background, you know what that means, that our time here in the Hoodwood is just about done for the week. You can catch Musings from the Hoodwood every week right here on YouTube. I try to put it out every Thursday as my production schedule allows. You can always read the column Musings from the Hoodwood every week on ugabsports.com. If you have any questions, concerns, or show topics, things you want to discuss, feel free to drop me a line at kj@blackbanditproductions.com. That is a new email specially created for the show. And again, we'll be back here bright and early, but we'll be back here next week with Musings from the Hoodwood. Until next time, fellows.